Welcome to Work Comp Talk, a podcast dedicated to all the injured workers here in California. I want to thank our lovely sponsors, Pacific Workers, the lawyers for injured workers. If you have not yet been able to connect with an attorney who can feel like they're listening to you, who is going to be there every step of the way, I highly encourage you to check them out at pacificworkers.com, especially if you're starting to get into some issues within your workers' compensation claim. My name is Carmen, your host, and this is the Best of Work Comp Talk series where we highlight the best episodes from the podcast into one. It's very important for you to hit the description. That way you get actual links to the full episodes of those topics we will be highlighting in this episode. And I also wanted to give you a heads up. Season 5 is coming up. It's coming up pretty soon, and I'm excited because I'm going to be able to share so much more knowledge with you as I embark this new season, along with many other co-hosts that are also attorneys for workers' compensation. So we're going to get different views and different concepts, different ideas that are going to come from these other attorneys. And you'll also get to meet other great people that belong to Pacific Workers. So I hope you join us for this. And I also hope you like this best of Work Comp Talk. I'll catch you guys next time.
How much money can you make, or how much more money can you potentially make with certain tips and tricks for your workers' compensation claim?
Step 1, don't file workers' comp.
Oh, gosh.
Step 2, go buy a lotto ticket.
Step 3, hope to win the lottery.
Hope to win, and you're probably going to do better than you would with workers' comp.
I'm glad you actually said that, because unfortunately, there are a lot of people that think that because they are injured at work, they're going to become millionaires.
Injured workers gave up their right to have those lottery ticket type lawsuits where they could retire and sue employers in personal injury and civil court. And now they have workers' comp, which is that benefits delivery system that's designed to compensate them for their injuries, but not necessarily reward them. The insurance company bases their decision to settle and pay out more money based on the fact that they perceive that someone's going to be a long-term financial risk for them. If we don't settle with this person, are they going to cost us a shit ton of money over the next 20 years? And if they think you are going to cost them money, then yeah, they're going to pay you more because they want you to go away. Make sure you're with the right treating doctor. But if you've got a good doctor in your corner, that's the doctor you want to be with.
The last thing you want to do is not show up to appointments, not get the medication you need, because it's only going to get worse. If they're offering you more money, it's because you're going to cost them money. So they'd rather pay you up front right now and give you a hefty amount. Their
goal is to take in more in premiums than they pay out in claims so that they have profits. That's it. If you cost them a lot of money, they want you to go away. And it doesn't mean that they're going to offer you the full value of what their liability is. It just means they're going to offer you something that is palatable enough for them. QME stands for Qualified Medical Evaluator. And that is a doctor that basically decides everything in your case.
They dissect your medical records and everything that's going on and kind of foresee what's going to happen with your workers' comp case.
This person injured themselves finally. They were lifting a sack of potatoes, which are extremely heavy, and they blew out their back.
Dang.
He can't go back to work as a chef or do anything. Can't even pick up his daughter. And he has a QME that says literally you get nothing. If you're an injured worker, you simply select one doctor from the panel, and that's your QME. The insurance company loves orthopedic QMEs and occupational medicine QMEs because they're typically the most conservative. Orthopedists tend to look at cases in like a closed universe. They're like, is there anything wrong with your bones, your joints, or your ligaments? Like, no, okay, there's nothing wrong with you.
You could have your ligaments on point, you could have your bones really strong and everything, but if you're dying in pain, that's still going to affect your everyday life and things that you're doing.
People are dealing with real chronic pain that's not so easily apparent.
How can you make more money from your workers' comp case? What can you do differently to make sure you're getting the maximum benefit possible?
I never accept the first offer. That's a tip.
If anything, the one you want to be friends with, the one you actually want to, I don't know, bring a donut, bring coffee to, is your QME doctor.
We've had so much specialized training and knowledge, we're better suited to help you than you helping yourself.
It's kind of like your car breaking down and you're like, you know what, I can fix it. I'll go get a book or YouTube this video and I'll figure it out on my own. But it's like there's tips and tricks to get certain things, with certain tools that are created to fix cars. It's the same thing with workers' comp. You can potentially be leaving money on the table just because you didn't know this stuff.
I think more often than not, Actually, like 99% of the time, we do get clients more money. Over $200 million taken from the insurance companies and put into the hands of people who deserve it.
That's amazing. It's good to hear. So we'll catch you guys on another episode of Work Comp Talk. Hope you guys like and subscribe our channel so you guys can keep getting some more information. Hi, welcome to Work Comp Talk, a podcast dedicated for injured workers with lots of conversations and topics regarding workers' comp. The type of information we give on this podcast is free. Anyone can dive into these videos and essentially learn a lot from the system, from Bilal, and from other people who have essentially been going through some workers' comp cases.
I wouldn't say it's a given step in every single case, but the large majority, probably like 95% of cases, QMEs are involved. Most of the time, there's one side that doesn't like the doctor's opinion. I would say almost all the time that you don't know what you don't know, so maybe you're not realizing that you're entitled to that. Maybe you'll just drop your case or take whatever the treating physician says is the gospel, and that's it.
You could potentially be losing a lot of money and leaving a lot of benefits on the table just because you don't know what you don't know.
Knowing which specialty to choose and which QME to choose from the state-issued panel is an art in and of itself. Sometimes all the evaluators on the panel are terrible and you're kind of picking the best of the worst.
Gotcha.
Other times, all the evaluators on the panel are fantastic. And so you're like, this is great. You know, my client's going to get a good evaluation regardless. Usually we're not going to strike the same doctor as the other side because there's like a preference, you know. Sometimes the QME is kind of your gateway to just continuing on with the case. When you have a situation where, let's say you're released from care with no need for future medical care, you can't simply just go and designate a new treating physician to take over. Going to a QME can sometimes be your only option to actually getting to a new doctor.
You have the two opponents, and then you have the ref in the middle. The QME would be the ref in the middle that tells you can't do that, you can't do that, but essentially plays a neutral role for both sides and then just speaks the truth.
You could have a denied case from the insurance company, and just getting to a QME evaluation can take months. You could have a denied case that takes 4 months just to get the report back. And then even then, you still have to fight to get the case accepted.
I'm so glad you brought those time limits up because I don't think people even know that even happens. They'll blame it on you guys, the attorneys. Like, you're not doing anything.
The workers' comp system is unfair. It's slow. It's behind the times. It doesn't pay nearly enough. Clients don't get the medical treatment they deserve. If I send a client to a QME or an AME and they've got a finger injury, and the AME comes back and says, you know what, they're 100% disabled, they're never going to work again, and it's like a splinter. We ask them to just be honest with themselves and our clients and, you know, do right by them and evaluating them fairly. Sometimes there's a dispute over the QME, whether or not the QME was validly selected in the first place or the appropriate specialty. The whole idea behind an AME is that both parties agree to that doctor to serve as kind of the mediator, and to that extent, their opinion is kind of held supreme above all else.
Gotcha.
Which is a major difference from QMEs.
An AME's power, essentially, they're above a QME. Like, a QME is just part of an MPN list, but when things don't go well with a QME, that's when you move up to an AME.
I think the big difference between all of them is that, you know, PTPs and QMEs come from medical provider networks and state-issued panels. So if you're unrepresented, you cannot have an AME. And there are some times where maybe a QME is a better option because I feel like there's less pressure on the QME to please everyone. If you're a super injured worker oriented QME, like, you can do whatever you want. You can write whatever you want in your reports, and like, you'll probably still get business because you come from a state-issued panel. At the same time, the medical record, the injuries, they all speak for themselves.
Yeah.
We don't ask people to make things up. We don't ask people to knock it out of the park when it's not warranted.
You could only get an AME if you have an attorney.
Honestly, just if you're going to go to a QME, make sure you get the right one. Know who you're picking.
If you have any questions, please make sure you drop them down on the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
The good thing is we're not doing the podcast for the looks, and we're actually doing it for the tons of information you get from it. People who are doing this for a living, who studied their butt off to be able to understand the system, because it is a very complex system. What is a medical buyout? When does it come into play? What benefits do you get from a medical buyout?
Utilization review is the process by which insurance companies get to decide whether or not they deny or authorize your medical care. A lot of times, having open medical for life isn't as awesome as it sounds.
If you are going through a CNR, you would want to think, how do I know what's coming up for me in the future? Like, what if I settle for this and then something scary happens down the line and then I'm screwed because I already settled?
There's some people where I actually tell them don't settle out your medical because your medical is potentially invaluable. If you have someone who's, let's say, 20 years old and they're quadriplegic and they need serious care for the rest of their life, maybe the insurance company's not going to offer a number that seems adequate enough to account for the fact that, obviously the costs are going to be substantial and we don't know what those costs are going to be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years later for this person's life. The one thing to remember when you're settling out medical in a workers' comp case is that there is no way to legally force the workers' compensation insurance carrier to buy out your medical care. Sometimes, the insurance company might actually overpay to go away. It just depends on the case. Maybe the ability to provide some medical care for myself is better than no medical care or the shit medical care I'm getting from the insurance company. It's illegal for a medical provider to knowingly bill you for work comp related medical treatment. If you were to go to a knee surgeon at Stanford for a total knee replacement, the medical bill is probably going to be over $100,000. The whole idea was to limit costs for employers and insurance companies because it was supposed to be no fault.
Yeah. It's like, dude, that's a really hard decision and that's a big pickle to be in if you're injured. Because 1, you want to get better. 2, you're in pain. 3, of course you don't want to pay triple the amount of the price. Honestly, I would rather take that and be done with it and feel better than to feel miserable and fight something that essentially is probably not going to get anywhere.
You can leverage it. You can say, okay, well, if you don't want to buy out my medical, I'm going to run up the bill as much as possible. I'm going to go to every single doctor appointment I can. I'm going to take every medication I can. I'm going to do literally everything I can to make this extremely expensive for you. If you settle a case by a stipulated award with open medical care, you can actually go back at any time in the future and actually negotiate a buyout whenever you want.
If you really are in pain, and like we mentioned earlier, then it would make sense to go to a doctor that's actually going to take that pain away, even if that means losing out on having the workers' comp kind of be liable for it. If your ultimate goal is to feel better, then you got to do what you got to do.
If the surgery doesn't go right and we settled everything out and now you can't walk, you're paraplegic or whatever, you're in so much pain that you just can't do anything, and the settlement's not going to represent that value.
A medical buyout is not something that you just I want this much, this is how it works, and it's going to happen.
Generally, insurance providers don't like to settle with medical buyouts where the injured employee is still actually employed at the same location where they're providing insurance coverage. They look at your ongoing employment as potential risk that you're going to get hurt again and that they're going to have to pay you more money. If you are resigning, we should be asking for more money because your resignation has value in it.
Obviously, take a look at your case, figure out what your needs are. But would you recommend them speaking to an attorney and kind of getting their 2 cents in it as opposed to them just doing it on their own?
You do all these things to educate yourself in life. Why would it be any different in a workers' comp case? You can tell them to go pound sand. You don't want their help, but
at least
take advantage of them for a free hour of their legal experience. I would say at least talk to an attorney.
Yeah.
Get their opinion, get feedback. It's not going to hurt. They're not going to charge you. And at least kind of understand where you are and whether there's anything they can do for you to help improve what you're going through.
The idea is to continue to throw as much information out there for free because why not? Bilal knows it and I like to pick his brain and we have topics that we can discuss. So if you have anything in mind, make sure you guys drop also a comment on our YouTube channel and we can try to see if we can also create an episode off of it. So thanks for your time, Bilal. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe.